Hello, everyone. November 1st. Whoop, 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 whoop. Um, I am so excited to do our second Write Together-a-Thon live stream today with our special guest author. And I'm also really excited to hear what you guys are working on, how your November 1st is going. We're like super busy over here and we're having a really exciting time hearing just from everyone out there. So I put this in the chat, but feel free to drop in the chat, you know, where you're writing from. We have people all over the world. Um, and you can drop in how your project is going so far. And if you want to drop in an emoji to show your current mood, feel free, because I love, oh, two devices on, maybe. If you hear an echo or anything like that, I can try to fix it in a second. And I'm sorry about that. I haven't had that happen since back in 2020. You'd think it would be fixed by now. Okay, so let me get started with a couple introductions. First of all, my name is Mariah. I'm the Director of Programs at National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. And what I'm working on this November is I've been working on the same novel for about 5 years, but I finally kind of finished it. So now I'm starting something brand new, which is really scary. And I don't know much about it, except it's kind of set in my hometown, which I've never done before. Or like a magical version of my hometown, because who wants to actually go back to their hometown when you can make it magic? Yeah, so that's me. So for this live stream will last about 45 minutes. And the goal is to get a behind the scenes look at our guest author's writing process to figure out how this like very published author does things, and then spend most of the time writing side by side. And like I said already, you can participate by talking in the chat if you'd like. I already see people sharing stuff there now. Feel free also just to watch. Okay, so I'm super excited, like I said, to welcome our guest author, Adiba Jaigirdar. And I want to read her really extensive bio because when I'm like struggling to write like one book, and then I saw your bio and I was like, oh my gosh, she's written so many books. So Adiba Jaigirdar is the award-winning, critically acclaimed, and best-selling author of The Henna Wars, Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating, A Million to One, and The Do's and Donuts of Love. A Bangladeshi Irish writer and former teacher, she has an MA in Postcolonial Studies and a BA in English and History. She's the winner of the YA Book Prize 2022, the KPMG Children's Books Ireland Awards 2021, and was a finalist for the 2022 Lambda Literary Awards. When not writing, she's probably ranting about the ills of colonialism, playing video games, or expanding her overflowing lipstick collection. Love it. So welcome, Adiba.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. And I think you're joining us from Ireland now. Is that right?
Yes, I'm from Ireland. Yeah, I'm in
That's
Dublin right now.
amazing. Um, if I like pop into the chat, let's see where people are. We have someone from India. We have someone from Washington, D.C., New Zealand. Oh my gosh, this is Mid-Coast Maine. Right Nerd says, I'm so excited for Adiba. Yay! And there's a lot of exclamation points in there that I hope you can hear me in me reading it. So people are super excited. And echo, some people hear an echo, some people don't. I'll look into it when we start writing, maybe. Okay, so this is what we're hoping. We're going to spend a lot of time writing with you today, but I would love, as someone who's written so many books, if you could kind of give us a behind the scenes look into your writing process. So like, where do you write, or any rituals or helpful tips? What does a normal writing session look like? Or just kind of any advice as all these writers out there around the world are starting their projects.
Yeah, so I want to start out by saying that I've been doing NaNoWriMo since 2009. So I've been doing it for a long time. And I feel like I've won a few times, I've lost a few times, I've skipped a few. But I've kind of been here before for anybody who's like new, or anybody who's tried it before, but maybe you didn't succeed. So I've been there, I've done that. And I'm doing it again this year. I'm writing a new book, which I'm really excited about. It's something like out of my wheelhouse because I usually write romances or like historicals. So this year I'm attempting to write a thriller. I don't know if it'll go well. So far, it's been a bit trying, but it's been interesting. I love reading thrillers, so I'm really excited to write one. Um, yeah, I've learned like a lot from NaNoWriMo, but the way that I always describe my writing process is that it's very chaotic. So I don't have a routine. I'm not the kind of person who wakes up every day and then writes at the same time, or has like dedicated writing sessions or writes in the same place. For me, I love like changing it up. And I think this is actually something that I learned from writing so many books, because every book that I wrote had kind of a different process. So I started off being very much a pantser. I used to love to pants. Like I hated plotting. The idea of plotting was just horrendous to me. And then I started publishing books, and I got the point where I was like, it's taking me so long to like revise a novel. And actually, if I plotted it out, it would be helpful. So these days I do plot a little bit, but I still give myself permission to kind of go off book. So with this book I'm writing for NaNoWriMo, I was trying to plot it for like a long, long time, and I was really, really struggling with it, which is the first time that I've struggled to plot a book after a long time. So what I've done is I've plotted about a little bit more than half of the book. I don't have an ending, and I've just decided I'm gonna like go for it and see what happens, and figure out like who the characters are and what needs to happen with the plot as I'm going. So kind of going back a little bit to my pantsing route. Um, so yeah, I think for me, my writing process or my writing sessions, it's all just about changing it up. Um, Today I basically woke up in the morning and I have a deadline for another book, which I'm also working on while writing this book for NaNoWriMo. So I woke up, and in the morning I had like a little writing session for Nano. In the afternoon, after having lunch, I had another small writing session. And now hopefully I'm going to write with you guys again. So I'm very bad at focusing for long periods of time, which I know a lot of people are, which I'm kind of envious of. But that's kind of why I usually write in like bursts. I'll write maybe for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. And then I'll take a break. I'll maybe like read a book. I'll go for a walk. I'll like have my lunch or dinner or whatever. And then I'll come back a little while later and I'll do the same again. And that kind of helps me like have like hyper focus for a little bit, which helps me just get the words on the page. They're not always great, but they are like on the page, which I know that I can always go back and kind of edit that. So for me, like that's just what works. I do a lot of writing sprints. A lot of the times, if I'm struggling to do sprints by myself, what I actually do is I do sprints with my friends. I'll call them up and we'll like do a sprint together on the phone, and then we'll check in with each other. We'll brainstorm with each other, which is really, really helpful for me, because sometimes, even sprinting doesn't work by yourself. And the writing program that I use, so I've tried a bunch of different ones. I use Word, which is, you kind of need to use it for publishing. It's good for like editing, because, you can kind of track the changes that you make, which is great. But for drafting, I actually these days prefer to use Dabble, because it kind of syncs online, which is great because I like to change from my desktop to my laptop. Um, and I also just really like the fact that it has like a little sprinter in itself. It has like a timer, so you can set it for like 20 minutes on the app itself and write. I love that it has kind of like a plotting device where you can kind of put in what you're writing for each chapter, and then you can move that around and stuff very easily. I find it very user friendly. I've also tried Scrivener, which I also know is super popular, and I used to swear by Scrivener until I found Dabble. The reason why I prefer Dabble is because you can do kind of focus writing with it. So once you start writing with Dabble, everything else kind of like disappears, like all the different panels. So you're just focusing on your writing. And for someone like me who does find it difficult to focus for long periods of time, that is very, very helpful for me. So I think like Dabble I actually found through NaNoWriMo as well. So that was great. But yeah, it's like the writing program that I love to draft on now. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for my writing process. So just a lot of chaos, really.
There were a lot of people in the chat who were saying like feeling very seen when you said that that your writing process is a little chaotic. Like Neko Yokai 66 says, hearing a published author call their writing routine chaotic makes me feel so validated, LOL. Which I agree. Like we kind of imagine our favorite authors to just, I don't know, be like perfect because like the books are so perfect and like you don't get to see any of the like chaos and mess that goes into it. So then when your routine is chaotic and messy, you think I'm doing something wrong. Um, when really it's just a first draft. Um, a lot of love for, oh, I wanted to find this too. Someone really loves your books. I mean, a lot of people do, but someone said something really nice. Oh, I'll try to find it later in the chat. There's like a lot of chat scrolling, but there are people here who have read all your books and are very excited to chat. And a lot of Dabble lovers also.
Okay,
Cool. Thank you so
awesome.
much. And I love that first of all, I didn't know that you'd done NaNoWriMo since 2009. That's like real, like OG status, I think. That's like before I started doing it. And the second thing is I'm so glad that you also like to do writing sprints with friends because that's kind of what this is. Like we're going to do a writing sprint with friends just all around the world. Um, oh, the other thing I like, sorry, I was like, as you were saying things, I was like, yes, 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 but I didn't want to interrupt you. And I just said I had a baby a couple years ago and it's much harder for me to find like focused time. And so hearing that the idea, like I could try to do 20 minutes, like I can do 20 minutes in the morning. I can do 20 minutes at lunch. And I saw someone else in the chat saying they had a lot of school projects this year. So I think, 20 minutes, different times throughout the day, you're waiting for the bus, it's totally possible.
When I used to work full time, like now I'm a full time writer, but when I used to work full time, I would literally be like during my lunch break, I would go to a cafe and I would have like my notebook and I would just write for however long I could. Or in the commute to work, I would write. And I found that a lot of times I was writing more when I was working than I am now when I'm like working as a full time author because like it's that focused time where you're like, I have to write or else I have no other time to write. So I definitely think that can be very helpful to have that focus time.
Yeah, same. Okay, so the next thing we're going to move into, it's November 1st. So I know that there are people, we want to get some writing done. We're in the company of friends and writers around the world. So to kick us off, how this will work is I think let's do maybe 20 minutes. That sounds like a good, like you can stay focused for 20 minutes, but it's still enough time. So I'll set a timer. We'll write for 20 minutes. And the important thing for sprints like this is to not let any doubt or self-criticism creep in. Because when you only have 20 minutes, you don't have enough time to be like, oh, what's the perfect word? Or like, oh, this sentence stinks. Like you really just have to keep going. So that's the goal. And to help us get started, we asked Adiba to share prompts. So if you want to use this prompt for your word sprint, feel free. If it doesn't speak to you, you don't have to use it, but I'm going to try to use it because we were talking before and it's definitely something that I want to practice doing. So Adiba, can you share your prompt with us?
Yeah, so my prompt is something pretty simple, which I hope that everybody will find easy to incorporate into whatever you're writing. But my prompt is to write a scene where food plays an important role. So I think, it can be like super simple, like somebody having breakfast or making breakfast. Or you can kind of think outside of the box, like your character is wearing like a pizza slice costume or something. So, feel free to make it as simple or as crazy as you want.
Amazing. Um, and I was just saying, I never think to add food, even though I spend my whole day thinking about it. So I'm excited to do that here. I'm gonna try to add an app to this, a timer, which I saw a really cool and younger programs associate doing in one of these, and I thought she can do it. I can figure out how to do it. But can I? I don't know. Let's see. So I'm going to try to set it for 20 minutes, and you can write in your notebook. You can write on your laptop. Please don't write in the chat. That would be too much. And we'll give you time to share it later. All right. And we're going to end probably at 36 unless it changes. Yeah, we'll probably end at 36. All right. I'm going to try to start the timer and I'll mute myself. Ready, set, right. Okay. If you can detangle yourself from your dream state, which is always hard for me, and finish your sentence, um, please do. I don't always write during these because I get nervous writing while also hosting, but this time I did because I really need the words. And I had a really good time like thinking through all the different foods this character encountered, and I feel like it really helped me kind of figure out more pieces of her character and past, which is really cool. Um, and I didn't count my words, but it's a lot. I'm excited. So if you want to drop in the chat how many words you just wrote, again, it's not a contest. Like some people write very fast, some people write slow. It's all words. Feel free. If you want to drop in an excerpt, feel free to do that as well. Thanks for sharing that with us, Adiba.
Yeah, of course. I also got like a bunch of writing done actually. I got about like 500 words, I think, which is really exciting. I write in short bursts, so I always write quite a lot when I'm writing in those short bursts. Um, and yeah, my characters didn't actually encounter a lot of food, but they encountered like a lack of food, which is what I was like kind of writing about. So that was interesting for me to write.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna count. Oh my God, I had like 400 words. I mean, some of it would
Wow.
be just like thinking into it. So I don't think they would actually be part of the novel, but I feel like that's how I start a lot. I'll start like kind of just writing to myself, and then it'll kind of move into a scene. And then later I can just cut that piece at the beginning, maybe where I was just like kind of talking to myself. Um, I also was feeling myself get distracted at the end, and I like looked away. But then when I went back, I like had another like good, strong, like I love these like short bursts. Let's see if people are sharing in the chat. Wow, yeah, people are sharing 500 words, 400, 152, 674. And thank you for the prompts. 327. A lot of words. This is amazing. I know Catherine Wilson says 554. That's more than I thought. And me too. I was also whoa. And Imaginos Desdenova says 544 words, wrote a scene where one of my protagonists who was born made of glass has entered a dimension where she's human and needs food, but there's none readily available. That's
Wow, that sounds
amazing.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Um, okay, so yeah, someone else, thank you, Mui said, I had the same where I had a bit of distraction, but then got a second wind. It's a good reminder because sometimes I'll stop when I first kind of get distracted, but really like if you go back, that second wind can be a powerful wind. And Lucia says, what is the goal for words each day exactly? I heard 1,800. So you're trying to write 50,000 words in a month. So that's 1,667 words per day. But, some days you might write more, some days you might write less. You might not hit 50,000. I have an internal goal of just trying to get 15,000 words because this is a very busy month for me. So that's 500 words a day. So this is really going to help me help me there. Okay, other people are saying how can I find Adiba's books? And I shared them in the chat earlier, but I'm going to share some stuff right now. So first of all, I'll share links to two of Adiba's books if you want to check them out, which I would love to do. It sounds like you write like you're really writing like a range of like genre, which I always think is super fun.
Yeah, and honestly, again, I feel like I have to credit like NaNoWriMo for that because when I first started writing with NaNoWriMo, I kind of just hopped around into different genres. So I felt like I had like a basis for different genres or I could experiment with different things. And then I've mostly published romance, which I love writing romance, but I would also love to kind of venture out and do different things as well.
I think that NaNoWriMo is a good place to experiment with genre because it's not like with different genres, I mean, because it's not like the whole point is to kind of play and like see what happens. So there's
Mhm.
um and when you said you're writing a thriller now, is that right?
Yeah, I'm trying to write a thriller. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I whenever I try to do something more like plot focused like that, like I really struggle. So I really admire like people who can write mysteries or like romance or things that really have to have a really tight plot because feel like that's the hardest part for me. Like I love writing characters and voice and like exploring the world, but then later when I'm like, oh crap, everything has to like make sense. That's when I get a
Yeah.
little.
I think what's helped me when I was writing romance is when I kind of went into it, I had like a similar view where I was like, oh, everything has to be like very like plotted very well, and I had to hit all the beats. But then at a certain point, I was just kind of like, I just want to write a scene where these two characters go on a trip. And I would just like write that and find a way to kind of incorporate that into the plot. So I think like even with like genres where you need to really hit like a lot of the beats, there's still room to play. And I think when you let yourself play with that a little bit more, it becomes easier to approach those genres.
Totally. Um, I like that. I'm going to think about that as I try to do something different. So I just dropped a bunch of links in the chat. I'm going to like just go over them really quickly and then thank everyone for coming. So first of all, remember to update your word count on the sites at nanowrimo.org, or if you're on our Young Writers Program website, ywp.nanowrimo.org. I dropped in the schedule of all of our Write-Together-a-Thon live streams that are happening today. So thank you for coming to this one. We have 3 more scheduled. And you'll see, if you click that playlist, you'll see them. I'm not going to say the times because we're all in different time zones. So just, you'll see the times there. And if you want to go back and watch the one we did with CL Clark or rewatch this one, they'll still be there. So you can always watch it. I know people do that. And I think it still works, even if it's not live, just having someone else feeling like you're writing with someone and having a prompt can be useful. I also dropped in the NaNoWriMo event calendar link. So if you want to see other events we're doing, virtual write-ins, meetups. We have a big donation weekend coming up this weekend, so there'll be a couple webcasts and writing opportunities there too. And then I also dropped in our Nano Prep 101 link in case you want to go back and revisit any stuff with your characters or plot, or anything that you feel like you need to fill out a little bit more as you write. And then I also dropped in our help email. So if you are writing on our site, I heard someone say this earlier, and like you can't update your word count, something seems broken, feel free to click that link and you can send Hannah support requests and we'll address it there because I know sometimes things break. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any last minute questions. A lot of people loving the prompt, see you next time, which is, yeah, same. All right. I'm so reluctant to end these because I really love hanging out with writers and I've had a really lovely time with you, Adiba. So but I guess we should. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your insight with us and the prompt.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for everybody who's here. I hope your NaNoWriMo goes really well. I wish you the best of luck.
Amazing. All right. Bye.